sting of death is sin, and the strength of sin is the law. But thanks be to God, which giveth us the victory through our Lord Jesus Christ.
All right, how's it going, everyone? This is Victory Live. Ben Naim here. I've got a very special guest. I'm going to introduce him in a moment. But before I do, I just want to reiterate, this is the live stream. I know I say it every week, where we do a victory lap because we are on the winning side. If God be for us, who could be against us? And the Bible says that this is the victory that overcometh the world, even our faith. So you just got to get used to it. I'm going to keep saying it. We are on the winning side. That's the reason why I call this Victory Live. And you want to talk about winning. How about missions? How about a cruise mission trip? How about going out, reaching the lost with the gospel of Christ? We talk about soul winning all the time here on this show, and this episode will be no different because Logan Perolis from Faithful Word Baptist Church, he just went on a cruise mission trip that was epic. Wait till you hear the numbers that he's going to tell you. The number of salvations that they were able to procure on this trip in total. It was an epic trip. They did a big work. I'm going to highlight it here because when people have a zeal for soul winning, when people are going to go out and they're going to do something big for God and get a whole bunch of people saved, I want to highlight that. I want to try to inspire others to do the same thing. I want people to be a soul winner. And if doing a live stream about soul winning, about missions, lights a fire under just one person to go out and do it themselves, then I take that as a victory. No pun intended. All right, well, let's introduce the man himself, Brother Logan Perolis. He's joining me now. Brother Logan, how's it going, man? It's great to see you here on the stream.
What's up, Ben the Baptist? Happy to be here. Excited to talk about all the success we had out there and hopefully inspire others to do their own missions cruise.
It's the first time we've ever done a stream together. You've called in to the Baptist Bias before, but this would be the first time we've joined. Now, I want to tell you something. I want to warn you here, just to explain the magnitude of what's happening. Now, this is according to Pastor Shelley. This is not me, all right? This is Pastor Shelley. He said, when it comes to his life highlights, the biggest moments of his life, okay? It goes, getting saved, getting married, having children, appearing on Victory Live. All right, that's what he told me. So I'm just telling you, all right, what you're experiencing is something special. No, obviously, I'm just kidding around here. But I do appreciate you taking the time to come on. Look, at the end of the day, we're all just trying to do our best to make an impact in our own way. And as laymen, the biggest thing we could do is, and honestly, it doesn't matter what you are, layman, pastor, whatever, the biggest thing you could do is to get a whole bunch of people saved. I mean, that's why we're on this earth. And you decided to go take a cruise mission trip from Puerto Rico. You flew to Puerto Rico, and that's where you got on the ship and you did your cruise. Now, before we get into the actual cruise, I wanted to ask you, what is it that inspired you to do this trip? Why did you decide to go out on your own and do a cruise mission trip yourself and lead one yourself?
Well, it was all the success that Pastor Anderson and then Brother Kevin Rowe that they had. During 2025, they went out and they were just. It looked like everybody was having a blast. Every time they would go out, they would have tons of success. And like I've been on a cruise before, when I was younger, and I know how much fun they are. And so the concept. Totally, like as soon as they pitched it, it totally made sense to me. Like, oh yeah, this is a no-brainer. Like, you get off on each port. As soon as you get outside of the, that tourist area, they're going to be super receptive. So to see, it was really, like having conversations with Pastor Anderson, like hearing the preaching, talking to him one-on-one. That's what I was like. Yeah, like I could totally do this. I like logistics. I like planning stuff. So yeah, like this is totally doable.
Yeah, when you hear the success of others too, it makes you want to take part yourself. You know what I mean? You're kind of like, wow, I didn't realize that this concept even really worked. I kept hearing just testimony after testimony. You hear about Brother Kevin Rowe, obviously, and what he was able to do. And then Pastor Anderson himself and others who went out and they did their own cruise mission trip. And you realize, well, okay, this works. This is legit. I remember talking to Lola about it even when she visited Steadfast for the conference that we had here. This thing really works.
Yeah, it was interesting. Like, your natural mind is going to give you doubts and stuff. So, like, after I had planned it, it was kind of getting closer, and like people were still going because I had planned this pretty far in advance, and people were still going on cruises and having success in the Bahamas. And I started to think like maybe it's going to get played out. Like maybe I'm going to get there and everyone's going to be like, yeah, dude, I already have like the YouTube card. Like I know how to go to heaven. And I literally had these doubts of like, maybe we're going to get there and it's not going to be that great. It's going to be like kind of like the law of diminishing returns. Completely opposite. Like haven't even scratched the surface, not even close. Like as we get into it, I'll tell you more. But yeah, if you're thinking that that this cruise, the idea is played out and the Caribbeans are played out, not even close. We haven't even scratched the surface.
There is so much work left to do. It is definitely there's a lot of potential is what I'm trying to say, and it's definitely a great place to go if you want to experience receptive soul winning for yourself. The Caribbean is what I'm talking about. Now, I went to the Western Caribbean, and I want to say this: I experienced massive doubts about my trip. First of all, when I booked it, I didn't realize. See, a lot of people don't realize cruises love to go to private islands rather than the actual country because they make more money that way. Every dollar you spend on a private island goes directly to the cruise line, whereas when you just go to a regular city, then you're feeding that economy. So on the cruise that I booked, I saw that it was going to Belize, and I didn't look any further than that. But I didn't realize it was actually Harvest Key, which is a private island. But thankfully, there was a ferry that took us from the private island to a village town in Belize where we did some soul winning. I'll talk about it later. But my point is that, on the onset, I'm thinking like, oh, this isn't going to work or whatever. I probably messed up. And then we end up doing great. So you end up having these doubts. I think that's just part of being a person, a man. We have this flesh and we end up feeling like, oh, is this the right decision? Is this going to be what we thought? And then when you go out and you do it, it's like the verse comes to my mind, the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord. And that, God is watching over us and he's helping us to be successful. And he really is on our side, like I said at the top of the show. And so we have to remember that. And Logan, I wanted to share a few Bible verses before we get into your trip in more detail. First of all, the Bible says, like, mostly in the book of Acts is kind of where I wanted to share some scriptures here. But, in Acts chapter 5, the Bible says in verse 42, this is a famous verse, and daily in the temple and in every house, they cease not to teach and preach Jesus Christ. Now, obviously, you and I are soul winners, Brother Perolis, and we do believe in going door to door, house to house. But, when you go on the mission field, it's more than just house to house. I don't know if you did actual like regular door to door soul winning, but on the mission field, it's actually like kind of a different style. It's not just house to house, and we do some of that when we do our missions, but it's mostly going to these public spaces. Is that what you guys did?
Yeah. So the only difference was in San Juan, Puerto Rico. The first day, we were trying to go to like colleges, and then it just wound up that one colleges was actually like being protested by the students. The entire thing was locked down. There was nobody there. And then another one, it wasn't like America where the kids are there on a Saturday hanging out. There's nobody. Yeah. There's really nobody there. And then the first island we went to was St. Croix, and that one, because it was a Sunday, all we were doing was going to apartment complexes. I found massive like low income apartment complexes and kind of split the teams up and sent them out there, because obviously our goal, talking with Pastor Anderson, like his kind of like his advice was hit the colleges, hit the high schools, stick to that really receptive demographic. And so that was the plan, which we can talk about later, how we executed that. But basically the first day and St. Croix was the apartment complexes. But yeah, like in the more broader sense of soul winning and missions trips, in especially the third world, you don't have you can go go door to door, but you don't really need to. You can just go. You're just out. If you're just on the street, whether you don't realize, like as Americans, we're so used to suburbs and everybody's driving. Not a lot of people. Not everybody has a car. A lot of people are just walking up and down the street, going, here and there. And especially like, the islands and stuff, you're on island time. So it's not like they're super busy and can't talk to you. It's not like America where everybody's in a rush to get somewhere. So yeah, like you really almost door to door is almost like a last resort on these missions fields. It's like if the parks have kind of played out and the colleges, no one's there, like, well, you can always go door to door, but you really don't need to. Like, honestly, you're just walking up and down the street. You're going to from one park to another park, and you're just running into people the whole time.
That's the way to do it on missions. And the reason I brought that verse up, though, is just to explain, like in the book of Acts, there's so many different stories, obviously, that involve missions. But I think that we see a book that encompasses different types of evangelism, the more traditional house to house. But then you also have missionary journeys that the Apostle Paul went on. And in Acts chapter 16, it says in verse 9, "And a vision appeared to Paul in the night. There stood a man of Macedonia and prayed him, saying, 'Come over into Macedonia and help us,'" the quote, Macedonian call. And then it says, "And after he had seen the vision, immediately we endeavored to go into Macedonia, assuredly gathering that the Lord had called us for to preach the gospel unto them. Therefore, loosing from Troas, we came with a straight course to Samothracia, and the next day to Neapolis, and from thence to Philippi, which is the chief city of that part of Macedonia and a colony, and we were in that city abiding certain days." So they're going from city to city and preaching the gospel, different locations, and moving around. In Acts chapter 20, we see that kind of same thing there in verse 6. "And we sailed away from Philippi after the days of unleavened bread, and came unto them to Troas in 5 days, where we abode 7 days." So the Apostle Paul, he's moving from city to city. He's doing evangelism and on these missionary journeys. He's sailing to all these different places. And when you look at the cruise missions concept, it's similar in the sense that you are literally sailing. Of course, you're on this beautiful luxury, in my mind, luxury ship. Obviously, I understand that in the cruising industry, a quote luxury liner is technically distinct from like your typical Carnival, Royal Caribbean, etc. But when you compare it to the way they were traveling back then, this was like, what we get to experience on a cruise is like 6 stars. But my point is that we're sailing on a cruise mission trip from nation to nation, from city to city. And what's really cool is, Logan, the number of places you can visit all in one shot. Like if you were to add up plane tickets, hotels, and everything for you to go and visit 3 countries in a week, let's say, for soul winning, wouldn't the expenses be a lot more than just taking a cruise?
No, yeah, there's no way you could pull it off for the same amount. It's so cool. Like Paul was definitely the OG cruise missionary. Like I can't believe it took us this long to figure it out. Like it was all there in black and white. For us, the game plan was already there.
Yeah.
But yeah, like they totally cracked the code. Like to going different places. You like really. It's just so easy. It's It's so cheap. Cruising is so inexpensive. Especially like when it's cool. You have when you have these sending churches that will also help out, like they're that's gonna give you like financial help to like maybe pay for your flight there. Like, hey, if you can cover the cruise, we'll cover your flight, or you get so much help from your sending church, whether that's Faithful Word or Steadfast or any church that's into this. It's really attainable. It really is. And just to go all these different places and to have all these experiences, you can't, like, it's crazy how cheap it is.
Yeah, all I did was just ask my pastor, like, hey, I want to do a cruise mission. Do you mind if I grab some church material? And he's like, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Go for it. Do what you got to do. Like,
no, we took 3 huge sleeves of YouTube invites. I'm pretty sure we gave away like 97% of it. Like, just crushed those things. So
Yeah, it's funny when you go to schools, a lot of those kids, they just want to hoard, in my experience, the movie
Yeah,
tickets, the
yeah.
cards. I don't know if they think they could resell them or something.
It's an
It's
American
weird.
giving you stuff, dude. It's gold. Yeah, they love
It's
it.
it's gold for them, and
Yep.
like I gave them all. I didn't even care why they wanted it. I'll give it away. I gave it
Yeah.
all away to them, no problem. But you bring up Paul being the OG cruise missionary. I mean, again, in the book of Acts, it's all over the place. Acts 20,
hmm
verse 6, and we sailed away from Philippi after the days of unleavened bread and came unto them to Troas in 5 days. I already mentioned that, read that verse a few moments ago there. But you look at Acts 18 and bid them farewell and sailed. There's all kinds of sailing going on. They're going from country to country. Acts 20 verse 15, and we sailed thence and came the next day over against Chios, and the next day we arrived at Samos and tarried at Trogyllium, and the next day we came to Miletus. And when he had discovered Cyprus, we left it on the left hand and sailed into Syria and landed at Tyre. Acts 27 verse 4, and when we had launched from thence, we sailed under Cyprus because the winds were contrary. So it's like he's going all over the place and he's using the medium of sailing to get there. And that's what cruise missions is all about. Now, one other Bible verse I want to bring up in Colossians 4, it says, walk in wisdom toward them that are without, redeeming the time. Now, you could just do a cruise vacation, which I've done plenty of times in the past, but you're not really redeeming the time. You're just eating, you're just kind of enjoying yourself. And there's nothing wrong with that, of course. We should have leisure time. But if you think about it, when you add soul winning to the trip, it just makes it that much more profitable. And Logan, the thing for me is I can never just do a regular, just normal cruise vacation ever again. I'm always going to have a soul winning element
Right.
included now. Because to me, it
Right.
just seems like, what's the point if you're not
Right.
getting people saved? That's my view on it. You're not really redeeming the time.
Yeah. No, the a couple years ago, we had gone to, we always like the mission. What was it? The conferences, like
Yeah.
you hear about the conferences and we take regular vacations, we go on road trips and stuff. But I kind of was like, I felt the burden of like, hey, we're spending like all this time and money, like we're taking these massive road trips and we're driving around, we're taking these little trips around America. And I really got inspired by, I don't remember which conference, but it was like, well, let's, instead of taking a vacation, like, let's just go on a cruise, like not necessarily even a cruise at that. I don't even think it was that point, but it was like, let's spend this time soul winning. Like, let's go somewhere. Let's do something. We can always take another trip, but like, let's make focus instead of like focusing like, oh, we're going to take a 2-week vacation, like let's take that 2 weeks and, go somewhere, do something. We only have so much, you only have so much time on this earth. You only get so much time off work to be able to do things like this.
Right.
You only have so many years with your children to show them the path and show them like, hey, the kind of lifestyle, of a Christian and a soul winner and what it means to make sacrifices to do those things. So yeah, this was like really important. I really was excited about this and I really wanted to do it. And was really happy that to have the inspiration, the leadership to help show the way of like, hey, this is how it can be done. These are the mistakes that we've made. This is how you could do better. And it's really like I'm standing on the shoulders of giants. Like this, the success of these numbers is really tied to Pastor Anderson and Brother Kevin Rowe. Like they laid the groundwork, and I just kind of took it and tried to, to do better and, to just try my best. So.
Yeah, they definitely laid the groundwork for us, Logan. I had zero experience with this concept before. I went out and tried it myself a few months ago. You just went out and tried it, which is why you're on the stream. And I'm assuming you have the total. I don't want to reveal it just yet, but you do have the total number of salvations handy, right? That you guys
I
got?
do, yeah.
Okay, so towards the end, we're going to reveal it. So that's the hook to keep people listening. We're going to reveal the number of and you already put it publicly anyway, but we're going to pretend that didn't happen.
It's not a secret, yeah.
We're going to pretend that didn't happen. And you can reveal the number of salvations that you received, that you guys were able to get on this trip later. For now, I want to share some photos. Let's dive into your trip here and talk about it. I'm going to share my screen, and we'll look at the pictures. This is... You'll have to excuse me. I cannot remember her name. I believe this is this who is commonly referred to as Second Sunday Amanda? Do I have the right person here?
Yeah, it's probably, yeah. I can't see it, but I'm sure that's who it is. Yeah.
Sorry.
There you go.
Okay, Second Sunday Amanda with a couple of converts.
Yes.
Where was this at?
So I think that was St. Lucia. They had it was either that's either Antigua or St. Lucia. St. Lucia and St. Kitts. Both of those days we were there, a famous YouTuber also showed up on those islands. A guy named Speed.
Speed?
Speed was there. And
what?
So yeah, that was kind of interesting. Like both those days, like he's coming in on like
random.
Private jets. Yeah, so they had this huge, like every one of these islands, like right off the pier, there's kind of like a town square. There's like a big park with usually a giant tree or something, and statues and fountains. And so that he had gone and set up there. There was like a famous cricket player that was there. And so all these people had showed up. And so Mrs. Anderson and Miss Amanda were just killing it. There was a ton of kids around there, so they're just following me like crazy. And then the last day, our last trip in St. Kitts, the taxi driver had like taken us, to like a view. Like we were kind of like that afternoon, we were kind of just hanging out, relaxing. And he was like, "Hey, we kind of have to go because they're going to shut this whole area down. Like this whole, like the way, back to the ship is going to get shut down because Speed." He's like, he shows us a picture of him in his private jet. He's like, he's on his way here. And sure enough, as we were driving back, like all these people had their carnival, outfits on and food trucks, and people were just like hanging out all day, waiting for Speed to show up. It was funny. Like when I walked into a high school and they just like, these kids just see this like white American guy with a goofy cowboy hat walking into their school out of nowhere, and they're just immediate like, "Do you know Speed?" I'm like, "Yeah, I know Speed." "Oh, he knows Speed." So and I walked to the principal. But yeah, it was just like,
they're
okay,
thinking you're like buddies with him.
Yeah, they're like, he's gonna bring him. I don't know. Yeah, it was just like, yeah, this guy's an American, so he obviously knows all other Americans and famous people. So
good.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure that might have been where that picture was taken or what she was doing.
You guys didn't get Speed saved?
No, yeah, we did not get close enough to Speed.
Oh man, that would have been a funny story. Well, that's totally random, but isn't that great how it worked out good for you guys? Because he drew the crowds and you guys 100%. Take advantage.
100%. Yeah, St. Lucia was packed and there was a bunch of teams. I think I want to say like 6 or 8 people that basically like Speed 100% brought hundreds of people into that area that maybe only had 50 or 100 people kind of milling around. Now all of a sudden just has hundreds and hundreds of young people. The exact demographic we're going for are now right there where half of our soul winning team is, and they're just getting people saved left and right. So it totally worked out.
What were all the stops?
Okay, so initial was we went out, San Juan, Puerto Rico, and then we went to St. Croix, Antigua, St. Lucia, and St. Kitts, and then back to San Juan.
And those were, other than Puerto Rico, there's a lot of Spanish, but all those are English speaking.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I thought we were going to have more success in San Juan. I thought there was going to be a little more English speaking, but it's pretty heavy Spanish. Even the colleges, like I thought for sure, like the colleges, the college kids will all speak English, but even some of those that were like, you're trying. But that day was kind of a dud. I wanted maybe like a dozen or so salvations or something, because people are flying in, they're kind of going, some people are just going straight to the ship. Other people are maybe taking, kind of looking around town. I thought maybe we could get to these colleges, but like I said, they were shut down or there just really wasn't anybody there. So we're trying to walk through the neighborhood, but no one really spoke English. But God's word doesn't return void. So we still got some salvation. So it was still a success. After like the fourth, I think it was like the fourth Uber ride of going around, on the way back to the ship, I finally got an Uber person saved, like, cause none of the other ones, it wasn't going anywhere, but that last guy was like super into it. So that was like a great like jump start of like, okay, now we're back, baby. We got a salvation right before we get on the ship. So it worked out.
I tried getting an Uber driver saved. It wasn't on a mission trip. It was domestically. And the guy was like, I can't talk about religion. I'll get in trouble. So I was
right,
like, oh, okay.
Right.
I don't know if that's true, but I'll just take that as I'm not interested.
Yeah, it's no problem. Yeah.
You may notice, folks, my background screen is a big, beautiful cruise ship. All right, see if I can get out of the way. There it is. And it fits with the theme of tonight's show. I just wanted to point that out. Let's get back to some of these images here. So, Miss Amanda with some converts. And what else do we have? We have St. Lucia. We've got an individual there, a child. I'm not going to do good at
that's all right.
Labeling, or I'm not going to be good at offering commentary on these photos since I wasn't there, so I'm going to leave it to you.
I'll take over, yeah. So that's Pastor Chad Rich and his crew. Right. So they heard about, they saw on the FWBC listeners page that I was putting this on, and he reached out. He was a friend. They used to attend Faithful Word, so we were friends back in the day. And he reached out. He started his church about 2 years ago, and so he was like, "Hey, I got my son. I got a couple of guys that want to come." So it was very last minute. That cruise was basically 100% sold out. They got his father-in-law is like a travel agent for the cruise line, so they were able to get, I think, like the very last couple of rooms and hop in. And
the father-in-law of Pastor Chad Rich, you're saying?
Of Pastor Chad Rich, yeah.
Okay.
So they kind of got in last minute, and they absolutely killed it. Their team crushed it.
Very nice.
His son Matthew was super popular with the kids. Like, they were all coming up to him and talking. He would have like huge groups of kids, surrounding him, preaching to them. For being 13 years old, like, absolute awesome soul winner. Like, had all of his verses memorized. Like, was really on top of it. I was overhearing a couple presentations he was giving. Very thorough, great soul winner. So it's like a testament, that you can train a child, and they can be, great soul winners even at a young age. So, if you have children out there, it doesn't, if they're not talking right now, keep bringing them soul winning, keep bringing them with you. Like, encourage your kids to get the plan of salvation in their Bible, to start working on it, encouraging them like, hey, you get the next door, they can do a great work at a young age.
Yeah, I'm trying to start mine early. They go with me on a regular basis. And I took my kids on a couple of cruises this year where we did soul winning. Obviously, the most recent one being a full-on mission trip with the kids. They got to see what it's like, and they experience missions for themselves at young ages with the hope that he can be just like Pastor Rich's son there. That is really cool to hear.
Yep.
We have just some soul winning here from...
Yeah,
that's Pastor Chad Rich, I believe. Yep.
Yep. So I kind of want to give a game, like what the game plan was. So I had talked with Pastor Anderson. I was like, I was like, hey, let me, kind of tell me how to do this. What should I focus on? And so he was like, there's a golden hour of when these high schools get out at like 2:30, 3 o'clock. And he was like, literally, like, all I would, because he went with just him and his son, and over like a week and a half, they got over like 100 stuff. They had like a crazy result. It was his most productive cruise. And he was like, all I did, he was like, I'd sleep in, we'd have a huge breakfast, we'd go out and kind of walk around, check out the town, and then we would just post up at a high school, right as they're letting out, and we just crush it, and get like dozens of kids saved in the span of like an hour, and then get back on the ship, so that all was done in just these short times of these windows of opportunity. And so I was like, okay, well, like that's I 100%, we want to do that. And then I was like, what I could do, like, to maybe get some extra credit, I was like, we can go to these colleges, because everyone's having huge success at the colleges. So I was like, let's go to the colleges first, get there maybe like 10, 30, 11, be there for like an hour or two, get some lunch, and then we'll go to these high schools and we'll catch the high school and then we'll go back. And that's pretty much how it played out. Obviously the first time at St. Croix, it's a Sunday, so we just went to the apartment complexes and had a lot of success. Did well there, and then we started doing these high school, these colleges. Now, this is what I was saying. Like, it's not even like this. We haven't even scratched the surface. I was under the impression that like to get into these schools that you had to have like an insider. You had to have like a Brother Kenton Knowles to kind of like be your inside guy to show up and talk to these places to try to get these, like, hey, we have these American missionaries who they want to come preach. I was mistaken. You don't have to have that. Like, so the first colleges, like, no, the first colleges we were going to, the thing is, like, they were on their test week. So we were actually like a week or two late. In St. Lucia, the guy because we would go to the college and I would, talk to security, because you don't want to just show up and just start roaming the campus. You want to introduce yourself. You want to be polite and, say, hey, introduce yourself. This is who we are. This is what we're doing. We're coming to preach the gospel. And, can we walk around your facility, talk to people who aren't in class? And 90% was yes. I think there was only one college that turned a group away that said, hey, we just need like an email. You gotta give us some more advance notice. But those colleges were all on exam week. So even all those numbers that we got were not even like, there was like a 10th of the kids that were actually there. The guy was like, if you would have come a week earlier, there'd have been 2,000 kids here that you could have preached to. Kind of walking around. There was maybe like a few hundred, and we still got a lot of salvations just with those few hundred of kids walking around. But now that I know this, that I can go a week earlier, late March, early April, where all the colleges are in session. And now that I know, and so I don't know how ahead of myself you want me to get, but basically, like, after like, well, I'll stop there and kind of, you tell, maybe you want to ask a question. I just want to I wanted to give the overview of what our game plan was, and we can kind of go from there if you want to talk about each island. But the game plan was hitting high schools when they let out of class and hitting colleges.
Yeah, and that's the way to go, because you're trying to talk to as many people in one shot as you possibly can. And I think what people don't understand is that when you show up to these foreign countries, they kind of view you as an authority in a way, because
100%.
You're from America, and so you automatically have their attention. And one guy that came to mind just now as you were telling that story is Brother Christian Grossman from First Works Baptist Church. On our Bahamas mission trip that we did last year, Brother Christian just walked onto a college, or no, it was a school, like an elementary school or high school or something like that. He walks right on there. He talked to some of the teachers there, or somebody in authority there, and he's just like, hey, I want to try to speak to your students here about the gospel of Jesus Christ. Is that okay? And they said, sure. And then he gets a whole bunch of kids saved. So you never know what you're going to encounter. Obviously, I get that. And sometimes people are going to be obstinate in these foreign countries. You are going to receive pushback. You brought up an example of that happening with some of your people in your group, but in general, just try it out and see what happens. And you never know what kind of doors are going to be opened. But let's keep going through some of these pictures here. And yeah, for sure, don't forget, it sounded like you had more to say there. Don't forget what it was. I want you to get it all out. But just some more soul winning here. We don't have to do everything. We don't have to go into great detail in every picture, but this is you and Mrs.
That's
Perolis.
Me and the Mrs. Yep.
Mrs. Perolis. Look at the view right there. Look at the beautiful view. And, when you're not soul winning, what's so great about these cruise missions? This is what I love so much about it, is that when you get back on the ship, you feel like you really earned your meal. You feel like you
100%.
really earned your leisure time. You feel like you earned the entertainment that you can enjoy on the cruise, because you just put in a great work. You did a lot of good things that day, and you really earned that time to kick your feet up and enjoy yourself.
Yeah, this group that we went with, were super hardworking. Everybody had a great attitude. We didn't have any bad experience with anybody. Like, and you're dealing with, these are people from all over the country, from Canada, Florida, South Carolina, from Las Vegas. I mean, you're all over the country, all over North America. People came together to do this, and everybody was working super hard. I had planned, like, my intention was, hey, let's go. This is the pitch that I made to my wife, like, hey, we're not going to burn ourselves out. We'll have a nice breakfast. We'll wake up, we'll sleep in, breakfast at 9. We'll get out there. We'll do the colleges for an hour or two. We'll grab some lunch, because I'm the kind of guy, I like, trying the local cuisine. I don't need to go back to the cruise ship to get lunch. We'll just try whatever's there, and then we'll relax for an hour or two. We'll go to the high school. We'll do there, and then we'll go back to the ship. And every day was just like nonstop work. It wound up being like, you get off the ship at 9, at around 10, and then before you know it, we got to go back to the ship. It's like 4:30. We got to get back there. And it's like, we haven't stopped for lunch. We haven't taken a break. We haven't done it. Like, we've just been, drinking the water that we have out of our pack. Like, we're sweating, like, but because you just get so fired up, like, you're just soul winning the entire time, going from place to place. And like, that, like, for anybody that's a soul winner in America, that puts in the grind, that knows what it's like going out, week after week, and it's just like, maybe you get to preach to a couple people here and there, every week. You get a couple, a salvation, like, if you can get an average of like a salvation or two a week, you're crushing it. You're actually doing really well. But the grind, like, door to door, just no. So when you have an opportunity, and there's just people everywhere, and no one says no, like, everyone's like, hey, are you 100% for sure you're going to go to heaven? Like, they're like, yeah, let's hear about it. Let's talk about it. So when you have that opportunity, your spirit knows, like, we got to get it in while we have it. Like, let's just keep going. Let's just keep grinding. And you have that, I don't even feel tired. Like, I'm sweating. I'm sweating. I'm covered in sweat, and I'm working. But like, you're just so amped up. You're just running on adrenaline. And you're like, this is the greatest ever. Where every salvation you get is just fires you up even more. And so, yeah, when you get back to the ship, and you get back on there, you take a shower, you relax, in your room, and you just like soak it in, like, man, we killed it today. Like, this is awesome. Like, I had a great time. And then you get to go to dinner, and then you get to talk about it with everybody else. So, everybody shares their stories, and you get the tally for that night, and you're like, man, did we just crush this island? This is great. So yeah, it's completely rewarding and fulfilling.
That's what I was looking forward to, is going out, putting in a hard day's work, coming back, having a great dinner at the main dining hall with the brethren, and sharing our experiences. Oh, how many did you get saved? Or what cool thing happened to you? Or, oh, this thing, did you hear about this guy who tried to stop us? And then this thing happened. Oh, this person was super receptive. You can share the stories. You have that camaraderie. That's fun. That's really fun. I love it. Now tell us, what island is this here? Do you remember? It looks like you're on a campus.
That is St. Kitts. That's like one of the last day. That's the last day. So that's like the is that no, I take it back. No, that's St. Lucia. Yeah, that's St. Lucia. And kind of like the town square that we were talking about.
Yeah, I see now. Yeah, that's a town square. There's a bunch of people.
So here's what I love about St. Lucia, right? So St. Croix, we did the apartment complexes. It was good. It worked. It wasn't like super, like, it wasn't as successful as the other, the rest of the trip, but it was good. Like, it totally worked. Everybody had a nice time. The next day was Antigua. We went, colleges, and then we went to, the high school. The high school was kind of crazy. Like, it was basically like a school let out, and it was just like this flow of like hundreds of kids like flying by you, and it was kind of weird. Like, it didn't really work out how I thought it was gonna. Like, they were kind of rowdy, kind of like not very receptive, honestly. Like, kind of I guess like rowdy kids, like they weren't really like not respectful, I guess. Like they were just kind of like happy to be out of school. So it wasn't, I was kind of like, oh man, is this going to work? Like this whole concept of like trying to get them outside of school. Like, I don't know, that was kind of weird. And then we just kind of like, what was great though, is like a bunch of us, we just kind of like slowly made our way back to the ship and just kind of walked to the ship versus taking a cab. And that was super successful. We were just going to kind of get one after another as we walked back. And so, like, yeah, because the kids are walking around, and so it wound up being great. Antigua was, but St. Lucia was like really, really made my day, made the whole trip. Because if you talk to anybody that's gone on these mission trips, no one has had that I talked to. No one's had success at St. Lucia. Everything's been super weird. The people are, Rasta guys everywhere, and no one was really. They were like kind of down on it. They're like, I don't know, that's that one's kind of a dud. And so I really was like hoping and praying that was going to be that we could figure it out. So that's when we went to a college. We got on. That's when the guy was like, if you'd have came back, a week ago, there'd have been 2,000 kids you could have talked to. It was beautiful. Definitely, I would say the most prettiest of all the islands. It's very hilly. So we're like, this college is like this old fort from the 1700s that looks over the entire island. It's got this 400-year-old tree that's like 200 feet tall, this awesome tree that covers like this entire football field size, grounds of the college, where everybody just kind of hangs out under this tree. And we had a great time there, got a bunch of salvations. And then we tried to go, Miss Anderson and Amanda were like, hey, there's this some YouTuber guy is here, and there's all these people, you got to get down to this square. And so we're like, okay, because we had played out the college, we're like, all right, let's get there. So we call our guy, he gets us down, the Uber guy gets us down there. And when we show up, it's done. The event's over, no one's there. Mm. And I'm like, man, it stinks. But it's like 2 something. And I know the school, there's 2 schools right next to each other that don't let out till like after 3. I'm like, okay, well, we're kind of early, but let's try to go to this school and, this high school, and we'll just see what happens. So there's a big band of us. I take 6 of us, and I'm like, okay, I kind of split teams up, and I'm like, let me go talk and see, like, you guys say, and then Pastor Rich and his group with us. I said, hey, you go up the hill and go to this Catholic school, and you can see if you can get in there and see what the deal is there. And so I go inside. This is where the kids are like, freaking out about iShow speed. And so I walk up to one. I'm like, hey, where's the principal? And they're like, what? I'm like, where's the big boss lady? And they're like, oh yeah. And they take me up. It's like a courtyard that's kind of surrounded by the school buildings. This like 2-story buildings. So they take me up there, and I tell the whole team.
Catholic school?
No, so this is just a regular high school. I had sent Pastor Rich up to the Catholic school.
Okay, got
it. So this is just normal public high school. I leave the team outside. I'm like, hey, wait here on this corner, and then if I get the thumbs up, I'll come get you. So I get taken upstairs. They're in a meeting. I talk to the secretaries. I have my cowboy hat. I take it off. I lay on like all the charm I have. Like when you're talking to these secretaries, you're like, hey, this is where we're from. This is what we're doing. We're super grateful to be here. We don't want to interrupt any classes. If there's anybody if there's kids hanging around, because if you've noticed, like if you've gone to the Caribbean, to Jamaica, these high schools are kind of different because like kids are just kind of milling around. It almost seems like the high schools are happy just to keep the kids off the street. And they're like, as long as they're like on the facility property, like they don't necessarily have to go to class. It's kind of odd. You just have these kids just kind of walking around the entire time. And so we're like, hey, if there's anybody that's, that we can talk to, we don't want to interrupt any class. We understand that, we want to be inconvenience. And so I have to wait about 15 or 20 minutes for the principals and the head teachers to get out of their meeting. And then I'm able to talk to them, and I tell them the same thing, what we're doing. And they're like, yeah, let me get a class together. We can definitely do that. And so give me a minute. So I go back down, I grab the team, I tell the team, hey, come up. So I bring them upstairs with me. And again, we're kind of waiting. Now the principal's gone. I'm like, hey, I asked the secretary, hey, where's the principals? They were going to give us a class. So she kind of looks like, down into the courtyard, and she like calls me, and she was like, "Oh, you got to go talk to her." So I looked down there, and the principal that told me she was going to give me a class is leading Pastor Rich to a class. I'm like, what in the world? So what I realized in that split second is and I talked to him later, Pastor Rich had gone up to that school, Catholic school. You're not going to get very far with that. So they're like, no. He'd walk back down. And so in the time frame of me waiting and asking, to get into here, they had just walked back down to the school where they had left from and walked in the front door. And then we're, just walking in, and the principal sees, hey, here's a white guy. He must be with this group. So let me take it to your class. So he literally just walks in, and this principal's like, here, let me show you to the class you're preaching in. And he's like, yeah, okay, great. So it was so funny. It's like that. This switch, how that laid out, it was just
from his perspective, he's thinking like, what the heck?
No clue. He just walks into this school,
divine intervention.
And as soon as he gets in, this principal just grabs his hand and is like, hey, let me take you to your class you're preaching in. And he's like, yeah, okay, perfect, let's go. And so I'm like, but I'm up there and I'm like, wait, that's my class. I'm supposed to be doing it. So like I run down there and I'm like, like I feel like Esau and Jacob, like, is there a blessing for me? And so she's like, yeah, let me get you another class. And so
here you are in a class. Is this the class you were in?
That's the class. So this is like I had memories of I'm 99% sure this is a Pastor Shelley sermon about I think at a missions conference or something, but it's the verses I'm going to misquote it, but it's a prepared mission field or prepared mission for a prepared heart. Like basically like do you know what verse I'm talking about? I don't have it memorized, but
not directly offhand, but
it's his whole sermon was like, like a prepared place for a prepared heart. Like if you're ready, that's what his whole sermon is like. If you're ready, like if you're prepared, if you're a soul winner, if you have these verses memorized, you can have the Holy Spirit will give you opportunity to preach and to do a work.
He did preach a sermon called like "Work While It Is Day" or something like that. That might be what you're referring to, perhaps. I'm not sure, but it was basically about how, hey, take advantage of the time that you have now to go do a great work for God, because you never know when you're not going to have that chance anymore.
But this is more focused on that. Like if you are prepared, if you have these verses memorized, you will have the opportunity. So if I didn't have my verses memorized, if I wasn't if I hadn't been consistent out soul winning, if I hadn't been doing these things, because I've never done this before. I've never preached in front of a class. This is my first opportunity. So this was this was very, very special to me. The first, and basically like within a minute, of this, it's like, this is your class. Like you now have like 30, 40, this is a packed classroom, 30 rowdy kids that you get to preach to. Like, are you ready? And I was like, and it's not like I'm not a special preacher. I'm not anything special. I am just a layman. And I didn't set out to memorize verses. And when you think like, oh, I don't know if I could do this. Soul winning is just, I had read these verses so many times out soul winning that I just memorized them. It's like as I'm turning to the book, over years of soul winning, I just know it. So I'm just quoting it. I never even set out to memorize these verses, but I just did because I'd done them so much. And so and that's all it is. Like all I did was give my soul winning presentation. That's it. 10, 15 minute, you're interacting. Like I'm trying to like engage with the kids. I'm walking up and down the aisle. I'm pointing, I'm calling on them, for them to answer questions. And so, like it was rowdy, it was fun, but, I prayed with them at the end. But what was great is like the other high school in Antigua, when that bell rang, we got there like right as they were letting out, and those kids just flooded out and they were gone. Whereas this high school, I don't know if it was because of us or this just normally happens. Everybody was hanging around. Like that bell rang and I thought it was going to be over, but all those kids, there's like a couple hundred kids that are just hanging around. They're playing ball, they're talking so we have a team of 10 people. And we're just we're in different classrooms, because I think like we preached in like 3 or 4 different classrooms, and then we're just all hanging around, for like a good I want to say maybe 45 minutes or an hour after the school let out. And we had talked to like every single student. And so what was cool is like when you're going and preaching at these classes, like obviously you're not counting, when, kids raise their hand or they say they prayed, it's not appropriate to count all those salvations. Like you want to talk to the kids afterwards, kind of get like, ask them a couple questions. Like, hey, do you understand it? You hate, like, do you get it? And so you can get, you get your salvation totals after that, after you talk to the class, kind of talk to the kids a little bit one-on-one, confirm that they understood and believed, and then you can count those. Those are realistic. But still, man, that totally made my day. That the funny story with Pastor Rich, just walking into the joint and immediately getting put into a class to preach, that was just so funny. And then I realized, so after that, it completely changed the last day. I was like, we're just going to go straight to these schools. Like, because I'd figured out, okay, all these colleges are all on exam week. So the colleges are kind of a bust. Like we can still go there, we can try, but let's just try. Like I got into this school, so why not? And so that's what we did. We just picked it, because I had all these high schools, squared away. So some people were going to the town square, the park to be close to the cruise, and other people were just going to different colleges and different high schools. And I was just walking in there and, trying to lay on the best charm I had and say like, hey, this is where we're from. This is what we're doing. Is there any way, we could preach to some of the children? We don't want to be a disruption, but, we'd love to. And, like one of the, I got to preach into 2 different schools, and like one of the ladies was like, well, I can't say no to the principal's like, I can't deny the Lord. Like I can't say no to the Lord.
Oh, wow.
And so when you hear these numbers, like when that we got these salvation totals from someone who doesn't, maybe a doubter, like would look at that maybe has never gone on the mission field, and you're thinking like, that sounds kind of far fetched. Like I don't know. You have to understand, like when they're open to it, like imagine trying to go to a public school in America and just showing up to the to the secretary like, hey, we're missionaries, we'd like to come preach the gospel to the children, like is there a classroom we can like, they would like they'd be like, yeah, sure buddy, as they're calling the police, like yeah, exactly. It's never going to happen. But for some, like for people that a lot of these schools are having the children memorize verses because they know that, like, okay, like even from like a layman, like an unbeliever's perspective or a layman's perspective, like they know, like, okay, being a Christian, like the Bible has good moral laws. We want these kids to be good moral people. So let's just try to get them memorizing Bible verses. Like, so they're like quoting you King James, Romans 6:23 and Romans, and John 3:16. Like they know the verses. They just don't understand the concept. They think that you have to be a good person. So when you get, like, they're so ready to receive the gospel, they're so open to it, the schools are open to it. So like that is the difference. When you go to a place that is receptive and ready to receive the gospel and be saved, like that's how you can manifest these numbers. It's because the Holy Spirit is there and these people are ready to receive the word.
So in this classroom here, did you have a time limit? Like, did they say, okay, you have 20 minutes, or was it go in there?
I knew that class was almost, there were like schools out in like 20 minutes. So that was before I even got into the class. So I knew I had basically like just enough time to get my presentation. And literally, like as I'm finishing my presentation, as like I'm about to ask them if they want to pray to receive salvation, like that, the bell rings. And so to their credit, they all stayed there. Like no one got up to run out. They all stayed there and gave me the extra couple of minutes, to at least give them the option, of praying. So,
yeah. So what I remember when I did when I did a regular mission trip and I got a chance to go to the classroom. I didn't get a chance to do classroom on my cruise mission trip, but when I was in the Bahamas, we did some classroom sewing, and I used the board. It looks like there's writing on the board. I don't know if you utilized the board or not. I would assume no.
I was just preaching, yeah.
I kind of thought it would be cool to use the board a little bit. So what I did is I told them, I said, okay, tell me what you think you need to do to go to heaven. And, of course, every answer I got was wrong, right? So I would just
Yeah.
put every wrong answer on the board. So they said, make sure that you follow your parents' rules, or make sure you're a good person, or follow the commandments of God, or go to church, read your Bible, whatever answers. And I put them all on the board, one after the other. It was maybe like 5 or 6 examples. And then what I did is I circled all those words. I put a big circle over it. And then I said, see all these things right here? Let me tell you what they all have in common. All of these are works.
Yep.
And then I wrote works, and then I said,
That's awesome.
in reality, what you need to do is repent of believing this and instead understand that it's salvation by, and then I wrote faith, and then I put an
Nice.
arrow. So anyway, the only reason I bring that up is because I think there's different ways you could do it, obviously. I think it's important for us to utilize the resources we have, and you had this opportunity to walk into a classroom, utilize that resource, get these kids saved, and there you are preaching. You said you're walking the aisles. You're filled with the Spirit. You know what I mean? You're walking the aisles.
Yeah.
Thankfully, you didn't start running around like our Pentecostal adversaries. But
Yeah.
John, I want to quote this here. John 4. It says, "Say not ye, there are yet 4 months, and then cometh harvest. Behold, I say unto you, lift up your eyes and look on the fields, for they are white already to harvest." And the Caribbean, whether it's Western Caribbean, Eastern Caribbean, is certainly white unto harvest. They are ready to receive the gospel, especially the young generation. They're often seeking truth. And I think it's great that the teachers, their mentality is, hey, we can't stop the Lord. If this is of God, we cannot, prevent this movement. You know what I mean? We cannot prevent this from happening.
Yeah, I was worried that maybe I would always kind of like look over at the teacher as I'm going, because like that they're going to be like, hold on.
Yeah, they may argue. And you know what?
None of them did.
Yeah, I've never had that happen where the teacher argued, Brother Logan, but I have heard that other people tell me that the teacher did actually interject and start arguing. So it just depends on if you have a heretic teacher or not.
Right, you never know. Yeah, what's really cool, and I love that you like what you taught. Like, this is all learning experiences for me. Like, never preaching in a class before. I'm 100% stealing that. That diagram. I'm totally doing that the next time I get to go. And this is what I'm saying. Like, when I'm telling you, like, it is not tapped out. It's not even close to being like scratching the surface. Every last one of these schools that we went into, they were like, if you would have called or emailed us, like any time in advance, we would have like done a whole assembly. Like, they would have gathered the entire student population, and you could have preached to them. Like, and that's what we did in Jamaica. We would go, like, we would get there, we preach to the entire school in one, during assembly, and then we would break out and go to individual classes and talk to individual students and confirm those salvations, like from the original message. So now that I know that, like, the next trip is going to be even more epic, because now I know when to go. So all the colleges are going to be there. I'm going to call and email every single school, set up appointments for every single soul winner to have their own class to go and talk into. So like, I 100% believe that like next year when we go, we're going to blow this trip's numbers out of the water, because now I know exactly the game plan.
Amen. Well, there's multiple ways to skin a cat, and I think, just to be clear, I think you could do anything you want, and the classroom, as long as you're preaching the gospel, you're good. I was just kind of sharing my what I like to do. But we look here, we see that you're preaching the gospel here in the schools. This is great. This is what I like to see. These kids receiving the truth, getting saved.
That's what's so great. These schools, like, you can do, if you talk to, both the testimonies from Brother Rowe and for Pastor Anderson, like the numbers come from, multiples. Like, get 2 and 3 and 4 people, at a time. Like, hey, make your 15-20 minute speech worth it. Like, grab a couple kids. And so, like, that's a lot of time these numbers too. Like, if you look at all these pictures, the vast majority of these people are 2, 3, 4, 5 at a time. You can effectively give the gospel to that many people. Like, if you're engaging and you're talking and confirming each person and making sure they're following along, there's no reason why you can't get 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people saved at the same time. It's all about you making sure you're engaging each person.
So continue to walk us through. So we've already talked about your first stop, right? The first port of call.
Yeah, so St. Croix was the apartments. It's a Sunday. Antigua, colleges and high schools.
Colleges and high schools.
St. Lucia's, colleges and high schools. Really getting into the high schools, and that or realizing that you can just walk in there and they'll let you in. And then St. Kitts was just same thing. Going straight to the colleges, straight to the high. That day, I had gone with Miss Anderson and Miss Amanda, and then my wife, and so we had left. I got onto the college, made sure we could be there, left them there, and then went right across the street. There was a couple of schools, so got into those schools. Preached to really cool, preached to a special needs class. It was a special needs school, so got in. They were maybe 10, 12 years old. Preached to them, small class, and then went into another school. And got to preach to fourth graders, and that was fun. What was really neat, it's interesting. The grade schoolers, they have those kids really well behaved.
Yes, I noticed that
the principal
too,
walked me in, and they had these memorized call and response that they would say. The principal would say something, the kids would say something, and she made sure she was close your books. Put your stuff away, put your hands on the desk. This is, a preacher from America that's coming to talk to you about the Lord. You're going to listen. And so it's interesting, something happens in high school where they're kind of wild. They kind of go wild, but the grade school kids are very, very well behaved. And it was interesting, both of those schools, the grade school level, kids that I preached to, these are independent schools. They're not the same classes or anything, different schools. But at the end, what I thought was really neat is the teacher elected one of the children and had them come up to me and hey, and introduce themselves. And, on behalf of our class, thank you for coming and preaching us today. We're very, we're very grateful. We hope you have success. So it was really neat. That they had, these kids are so well behaved. And it was just kind of a treat, this neat thing that they would come up and thank me for showing. I'm thank you that you I'm
Sure.
Still blown away that I'm actually getting to preach and in a school to kids that are, and they're receptive to hear it. This is awesome. Never in a million years could I do this in America, which is so sad that we're supposed to be this Christian nation. And, we're founding all these Christian ideals, and these evil, wicked people have just destroyed our country and are just driving it to hell. But there's still opportunity, to go out there into the mission field and have great success. So it was just, it was great. Yeah.
Well, I guess you could thank the Jews for that, right?
Yeah.
But that's a different stream for a different time.
Yeah, that's a different stream. Yeah.
That's the anti-Israel conference, cheap plug, coming up.
So that was St. Kitts. We finished St. Kitts, and credit to my wife. She was a trooper. She never complained. She's going along with me, to all this stuff. And then the last day she was and even Miss Anderson, Miss Amanda, because them too, they've been going, they're going all day, every day. No one's taking breaks. They were okay, let's have a fun day. Let's do, we've been working all week. The second half of our last day, let's take a tour.
Let's have some fun.
That was our fun day. And it was a blast. So our tour guide picked us back up and kind of did a half island tour. Took us to an old sugar factory, which is from the 1700s that had obviously it's just ruins, and but it's in the rainforest, so you get to kind of walk through this rainforest. Mrs. Anderson is there's these vines hanging down, and she's convincing people to run George of the Jungle, swing on these vines. So we had a great time. There's there's local guys that are outside. There's just it's just a table, two dudes, a bunch of coconuts, and a giant pig, and all these piglets. And so yeah, $5, crack open a coconut fresh. It's like anytime I go on these tropical places, like that's all I want is like the fresh coconut with the straw, like living the dream. And so I got my coconut, my coconut water. I'm drinking it. The pigs are feeding. If you remember the stories, that from pastor's sermons about Mrs. Anderson's upbringing in Hungary, and riding the stuck pig as it bleeds out. So she's taking pictures of the pig and the piglets. She thought that was great, and we were laughing. So we got to see the sugar plantation or the sugar factory, and then we went to kind of the other side of the island. They had a natural, or they had like a coffee place where I got to, they roast their own beans. They grow them there on the island, roast them there. So I like coffee. So I got a big bag of coffee beans to take home. And then, beautiful beach, emerald water that we got to, hop in, swim around in. And then there's these restaurants that are like right there on the beach. So we got to, eat some, seafood and just have a real nice time just looking at the water and getting to go swimming. And then, we got picked back up and took to the ship, before IShowSpeed, showed up, and we would have been stuck there in St. Kitts. And then, just a little bit of shopping at the port, before we got back on. But just a great way to kind of end the whole trip on a high note, just, being able to relax and really just soak in, like, by that time I knew, like, we've totally crushed all, expectation that or thought that I had, completely destroyed, what I was hoping to do. I knew we did great. And so just to have that final day, that final afternoon of just, being able to enjoy it and have a great time was, it was great.
Well, we'll reveal the number here in a minute, but I just have a couple of thoughts on the things you said. First of all, regarding the school, and you brought up how the kids appeared to be very disciplined and well behaved. That was not unique to the location you were at. At the Bahamas, I noticed the same thing. Everything was orderly, and the kids were whipped into shape, verbally, perhaps even physically. I don't know, but
yeah,
they were real orderly there, and the kids were well behaved and respectful to us. And after I preached at one of the classrooms, I had a student come up to me and say, "Thank you for talking to us about Jesus Christ." And at that moment, it's the first time I'd ever done it, first mission trip when that occurred, and I was like, "Dang,
this is cool."
I feel like I'm getting a little emotional, So
yeah,
that was cool. And then something else I want to bring up too. You talked about, hey, you needed to make it back before IShowSpeed. People need to keep this in mind on cruises. And you can interject here if your cruise was different, but cruise ships are going to stay on their own time.
Yeah.
And so when you're trying to figure out when to head back, it does not go by local time, it goes by ship time, which is going to remain the same as the ship time is going to remain the same as the time zone that the ship left from, which for you was Eastern time. I don't think there was any changes in time anyway for you guys, but for us,
it was the same.
There were at a few of the stops we did change time zones, and people have to recognize if you are going to do a cruise mission trip, understand that the cruise ship stays on the same time zone that you left from initially.
Yeah, you don't want to be the person on YouTube, running down
struggling to get
going,
back.
Wait for me.
And people are recording
you don't want to be that.
And saying to themselves, I'm glad that I'm not that person. And then lastly, another thought too, you brought up, hey, let's have some fun here on the last day. It is very important. I feel very strongly about this. I'm going to monologue for a second. I feel very strongly about ensuring that people have an enjoyable time on mission trips. The Bible says not to be righteous over much. You don't want to burn yourself out. You don't want to make it to where people are miserable on a mission trip, because then they won't want to go do another one. And look, there are going to be people who want to do varying degrees of work, and I understand that. And so if you're somebody who wants to go all out, you can't necessarily force that on, let's say, a mother who's there with a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old and a baby who doesn't necessarily want to go as hard as you. And you need to keep, I'm not saying you specifically, Logan, I'm saying in general,
I get it.
You need to keep that in mind, because if you're going to force people to be uncomfortable and to do more than they're comfortable with, and
Right.
kind of just drive them into the ground, then they're not going to want to do another mission trip, and you just lost another potential soul winner who can go out and do these trips. So, these trips can sometimes be a litmus test to see who's the holier than thou that's just like shaming people and trying to make them feel bad because they're not going 150% like them. It's like, chill out, let people go at their own pace. That way they actually want to come back. And you know what? Have some fun while you're at it. Yeah, put in the work. Of course, I'm not downplaying that. Put in the work. Go reach a whole bunch of people. Get a whole bunch of people saved. Work your tail to the bone. Don't get me wrong. But here's the thing about that. Leave some time for some leisure as well. Have a great time. Go see some sights and sounds. Go take a tour. Enjoy yourself. Because first of all, you earned it. And second of all, you want to incentivize people to want to come back and do another trip. And I'm glad to hear that you guys took some time on that last day to have some fellowship, just have some fun. You did earn it at the end of the day.
Yeah, they had, and just so like as I'm making my pitch, obviously I'm going to do this again. I'm going to do this again, God willing, for the rest of my life. Every spring, this is my new vacation. And so I'd let people know when I pitched this, we had our first meeting, kind of like, we did a Zoom call with everybody. I was like, hey, I'm giving you a game plan. I'm, basing of what people have told me is a success. We're all adults. This is your trip. If you want to do it, you don't want to do it. It's no sweat off my back. You can do your own thing. If you want to do the work with us and what we're trying to do, 100%, I'll give you every, thing that I have to help you be successful, and the maps and everything, but you don't have to do what we do. And so it was neat, but everybody was on board. And that's, I keep saying, it was such a great group, because we did have those guys that were there was a couple, some single guys that were, they're going soul winning on the cruise ship, after dinner. They never turned it off.
Can't stop, won't stop, no brakes on that train.
So yeah, it was awesome to walk the cruise ship and see people from your group that are getting the local guys saved, or they're getting the teenagers that are there running around getting those kids saved, or the workers, the cruise ship workers saved. So that was cool. But what was great is nobody had a bad attitude. No one was like, well, I went soul winning after dinner, I can't believe that you didn't go. Everybody had a great attitude. Everyone had an awesome time. And so yeah, I really look forward to doing it again and getting more people to come out, because we're just going to do bigger and better things. So
I'm really glad to hear that you want to do more of these. Go ahead. You were saying it was cool.
Yeah. So I don't know if you have this picture of me with the game sign. So just to kind of give a plug for myself,
game sign,
the game. Yeah. So there's, I'm holding this sign. I think I sent you the picture. Anyways, if anybody who's hung out with me over time, or has been to my house for parties, or gone, on a camping trip or something, there is a trivia game, a famous trivia game that I play, that I put together and I run. And so the last night when we were done, it was, I think before we had a late dinner the last night. So it was kind of in the evening, as our last day at sea, kind of on the way back, our last full day. We all got together. I actually tracked down the cruise ship director. I found him walking around, the guy who's in charge of everyone having fun. And I'm like, hey, I got this game I want to play. I need a room. So he let us have our own, they had a big conference room that he was like, hey, no one's using this. You guys can have it for free. And so we had our own conference room, and we put everybody in a circle. And it's just a kind of Jeopardy style trivia game that I play. And, we bought a couple prizes, one for the ladies, one for the guys, that we gave out. But everybody had a nice time, playing this game. So there, yeah. So that'll be a feature of every trip that you do with yours truly. We'll play. It's going to
be a trivia game. You better be ready.
Play a trivia game, yeah. So it does expose who's reading their Bible, or who needs to do a little bit more Bible reading.
Oh, it's a Bible trivia.
it's Bible trivia, and it's fun stuff. Like I have different categories, like worldly ones. We'll see who knows pop culture. But yeah, so it's just a fun trivia game that that's kind of like the cap, of the whole trip. A nice time where we can all kind of get together, have some fun. And
Yeah,
so
see, this is what it's all about. Sorry to interrupt. I just want to say,
go ahead.
You have a great day out soul winning. You go get souls saved. You work hard, then you come back. Look at the dinner you get to enjoy.
Yep.
At the main dining hall, which, by the way, folks, again, I don't know what people actually comprehend about cruises. This is included. This was not additional. You didn't go to, right here in this picture, a paid dining option. This is included with the cruise fare, and in my opinion, great food. It's not the greatest food in the whole world, but I think it's great food.
Yeah,
and you have a good time. So this is what it's all about. This is why I want to do more cruise missions.
Yeah, let me break this down. So we had 19 people. We were split up for dinner. We had like 3 different tables because we all have different reservation numbers. So we weren't really able to kind of get we weren't really able to get everyone together. So we all kind of we're split up just a little bit. But here's the deal. Here's what is going to be even better next time we go. Is now I have a person on the inside. This is Pastor Rich's father-in-law. Both father and mother-in-law are both travel agents specifically for Royal Caribbean. So because of that, I've already talked with him about this, is he can he can reserve a block of 20 cabins, 30 cabins, like a big block. So now everybody's under one confirmation number. Everybody has even better pricing that you can find on these discount sites. You're going to get better pricing than that. And we don't have to use every single one. He can give us the block. He can reserve it all for us. And then, as it gets closer, basically 30 days before, he'll release whatever we don't use, he'll release back to the cruise ship for them to sell. But now we have a person that can basically go to the Royal Caribbean for us and say, hey, there's 25 people that all want to eat together. Cool, no problem. Here's the tables they're going to be at. We're going to put them right next to each other. Or we'll put them at 2 big tables. And, so that was the thing that is going to be even better next time we go is everybody will have, the logistics will be better of planning it. Everybody will be, have a better price, a better dining experience because we'll be closer together and be able to move around a little bit more, kind of in between the tables. So it's just going to get that is awesome. It's just going to get better. It's just as we keep doing this, we'll keep refining it. We'll figure out the things that don't work, the stuff that does work, and it's just going to keep getting better.
And
so
I've done 2 other cruise lines, and I can tell you, and I'm not just saying this because you're on the stream here with me, Royal Caribbean is the best cruise line out there, period, in my opinion, and I don't think it's even close. I do not think it's even close. That, again, just personal opinion. I realize people have different views, but you went on a Royal Caribbean ship. What was it, Freedom of the Seas?
Yeah, it was Jewel of the Seas. So this is an older ship that was built the late 90s, refurbished a few years ago. So it's not one of these giant ships that these that they have there, but it's still very, very nice. The food was great. Just like you said, it's not 5-star food. You're serving 1,000, 2,000 people at a time. Obviously, it's very apt of like a Golden Corral. The food's good. It's not great, but what's awesome is you can choose all of it. This is what people don't realize. If you've never gone on a cruise before, you're going to get a menu. You get a big menu of what they're making that night, right? There's a bunch of different appetizers and mains and desserts and soups and salads. You can get it all, right? And so you can, if you don't you can choose all different types of things. They're just going to keep bringing it to you. So one of the guys, Brother John, from church, they just kept bringing him steaks. Like that's all he wanted was steaks. They were just bringing him out plate after plate of steaks. The guy was just crushing them. So like, yeah, you're gonna have a
It's
great
all
time.
you can eat.
The food, it truly is. It just because it's not the buffet doesn't mean you can't just crush a ton of food. Like I'm getting like three mains. They're just bringing food out to you as much as you want.
It is important to note that is in the main dining room. You are able to order as much as you wanted, and you can mix and match. If you could say, you could even say, I want 2 appetizers, 1 entree. You could say
whatever you want.
You could say after you finish your entree, you could say, I'm not full, I'd like another entree. They'll give it to you.
100%.
But, and then this is very important to note for people, because I want to set the expectations. And I've never done Carnival. I don't know if it's the same on Carnival. But on Norwegian, they will upcharge you for ordering another entree. So you cannot do that on every line. Royal Caribbean is one of those cruise lines where they're happy to give you what you like. However, on Norwegian, they'll upcharge you because they did that to me. I ordered an entree, and then I'm notorious for doing this, is that somebody else at my table will order something, and I just think to myself, I should have got that. Yeah. So I figured I'm going to order it. So I order it, and then they're just like, oh, by the way, it's going to be an upcharge. So I was like, whatever, fine. Yeah. But yeah. Just wanted to keep people so they understand. But yeah, as far as the food, yeah, I would agree. It's not the greatest food in the world, but I still think it's pretty good. And in fact, I would say there were some meals I had.
It is very good.
There were some meals I've had on a cruise ship that I would actually classify as great. So it just depends on what you order.
100%.
It depends on what you order. And it also depends on what your standard is as well. I think some people, Pastor Shelley, they may have higher standards than others.
Yeah,
if he's watching this, he's
breakfast was great. Like
smiled.
Huge buffet, anything you like. There's all kinds of breakfast food. Like so it's pretty hard to mess up breakfast. So breakfast was awesome. And then if you happen to be on the ship for lunch, you don't have to go on the main dining. If you just want to do your own thing, you're kind of like, I've been seeing all these people all day. I just want to do my own thing. Man, do your 100%. Yeah, hang out, do your own thing. We had some guys that were, they would go to the buffet before dinner, and they'd crush a couple burgers and then come down, to the main dining room and do dinner.
I did that a few times, admittedly. You can have 2 dinners. You can go to the buffet. Yeah. Go to the buffet, grab a few things. Oh, you know what's great about Royal, Logan? Is that y'all had free pizza 24/7, didn't you?
Yes.
And how good was that pizza?
It wasn't 24/7. It was like, I think they stopped serving at like 1 a.m. or something like that.
That's right. It is 1 a.m. when they shut it up. But it's good, isn't it?
It is. It is good. It's like it was funny. Like you finish dinner. You kind of maybe you go to a show or you hang out. You get in the hot tub or something. Go swim. And then you're like, like I had like 5 meals, for dinner, but a pizza does say like I am here,
yeah.
Let's do a couple slices, and why not? And so they have pizza, little desserts, little sandwiches that you could get,
and they're like these thin crust pizzas that are amazing. They are really, really good in my opinion. I love those pizzas from Royal Caribbean that they give away. By the way, they're free whenever you want. You could even have for dinner if you wanted to skip the main dining room for whatever reason. But the options, if you don't want to spend any money on food on the ship, you can do that.
1,000%. Yep.
Because although they do have premium dining options, I think you could totally skip those and still have some great food and still enjoy your meals without question. But some people, they still might want to, for one of the nights, go to a paid dining restaurant, and that's fine. You can.
Yeah, no, Mrs.
The main dining room is perfectly acceptable.
Yeah, Mrs. Anderson blessed me and Jensa with, they had given her a free, premium upgrade, and she blessed us and gave that to us. So me and Jensa got to have a nice night by ourselves at, one of their, Italian themed restaurants, and it was awesome to, to have that time, just me and her. And so that was very nice. We're very grateful for that. And, but yeah, man, you can totally, like, you just got to get there. If you can just get there, man, everything you is pretty much going to get taken care of. Like, you could, either whether you have to, we're taking Uber rides, to places, but man, you can hop in, like it's not like everyone's trying to like nickel and dime, like, okay, like who paid, like make sure, but it's, like you can hop in and catch a ride. You can just go to there's all schools. Like it's not like we're going a million miles away. I would go and pay the money to go like to the furthest schools, but there's all kinds of high schools and colleges right off the pier, like like right in the main town. You could 100% take a 20-minute walk and get to where you need to be, and do tons of soul winning and have a great time. Like you literally, like if you can just get on the cruise ship, you don't have to spend another dollar. You really could. You could figure it out and get the whole trip and have an absolute ball. Not be hungry. Have plenty of food, plenty of fun experiences, and tons of soul winning. So it is really financially attainable for the everyday man. Like I'm not some big baller. I have a family I provide for, and we were able to do this cruise. God bless Faithful Word that they paid for my wife's plane ticket out there, which was nice. That helped out. So yeah, like you can do this. I really want to encourage you, and you have time. Like you can put it in your calendar, basically like March or April of next year, that you're going to come on this cruise and start saving up. You're looking at about maybe $700 or $800, like because you have to pay like $150 or so with tip. So like with like your board and your tip, maybe like $700-800, maybe $300 for your plane ticket if you have to pay for it, and maybe your church will help you out depending on the church you go to and the situation. But yeah, for basically $1,000, you can have an epic soul winning, a week-long epic soul winning trip.
We looked at going, in fact, my family on the trip you're describing. It's just from a financial perspective, when it comes to families, when you have 4 or 5 kids, it can get a little pricey on airfare, and certainly you brought up the tips, that can add up as well per person. So what we did is we skipped the plane ride and ended up just leaving from Galveston. But I will tell you that I do want to, Lord willing, join your group on a cruise mission trip one day. And
Amen.
I'm hoping that it'll happen. I think that would be a lot of fun. But let's get to what I've been teasing all night. How many souls did you get saved on this trip?
So our team of 19 soul winners, 7-day cruise, 5 different islands, 657 salvations.
657 salvations. And you're wondering why I decided to do a live stream about this, folks. 657 salvations, courtesy of the group that was led there by Brother Logan, this cruise mission trip right here. I mean, what else is there to say? That speaks for itself. A big work done on this trip. Great job. I'm really glad that you did this, that you put it together, you stepped out in faith. Those are some commendable numbers right there.
Yeah, it totally exceeded everything that I had hoped for. Like, yeah, that was like a total pie in the sky, because they had just gone to Belize. They, Faithful Word went to Belize, and then First Works had gone to Belize. But they were kind of going as we were going, but our church had just gotten back, like right before we left. They had like 650 some salvations, and so like in my mind, I'm like, that's a total pie in the sky. Like maybe by some miracle we could reach that number, But I was not that was not my expectation, But so yeah, it totally exceeded, what I was hoping to pull off, and everything was just great. Like we had nobody got hurt, nobody had a bad time. Like everybody enjoyed themselves, and we got to. That's what's so cool. Like when you go soul winning, on the week, like you get paired up with someone you don't know, or you spend an hour or two, you get to talk to them. That's what's so great about soul winning. You get to build that camaraderie, talking with people. So when you have people that from other countries, like I had never met before, but now I have an instant kinship with, because one, like they're soul winners, they're Baptists, they believe like me, and we get to do this experience, and we're going out in the mission field together, we're spending time at dinner together, talking about it,
You
hanging
get
out
to know each other more.
afterwards. You really get to know each other. So it's it was great catching up with people that I hadn't seen in years, and for everyone to have such a great time and to get those numbers.
Hey, at any
Just
of the
awesome.
stops, did you deal with aggressive salesmen, tourist people trying to get you to spend money on a taxi drive or something like that? Is that a challenge you had to deal with?
It's not really a challenge. You just have to expect it. Like you just have to have a plan and kind of know what you're getting into. The second that you get off of the pier, like that you walk that gangway from the ship where it kind of opens up into the city, there are going to be 100 taxi people right there that are yelling and saying like, "Hey, come here, I'll get you right. Where do you want to go? Here's a tour. Here's a this." So as long as like your team that you're going with, like what I did is I researched Uber rides. So now all those islands have their own version of Uber, whether like they call them different names, but they all work exactly the same. They're a fraction of the price of the cab guy. And so as I'm walking off the cruise ship, I'm just on my phone calling the ride, and that person pulls right up to where I'm at, hop in there and take off. And so I didn't even have really, I think maybe only 1 or 2 days we dealt with, with those guys. So yeah, like, and you can, like, if you're not I'm kind of a wheeler dealer kind of guy. Like I like to go to the ballparks and hassle with the scalpers and get a good deal on tickets. So like that's my world. I'm fine with that stuff. So if that's not your world, just hang out with me, like, and make sure go with someone who's going to handle all that for you, that negotiate that. And it's not that big a deal. Like it's there, it's loud, but as soon as you walk past that, you're normal. It's a normal world. Normal people are just going about their business and their day to day. It's just that right as you get out, it's kind of a little crazy.
It is crazy because first of all, they all assume that you're like a big baller because they see you get off of a cruise ship.
Yeah.
Which I guess in comparison to the poor people on the island, any American is, but my point is that for me, in my experience, they were really aggressive on trying to sell me crap that I didn't want when I was on these different islands that I went on personally. And so it just got to a point where there was one guy, this was in Roatan Island, I'm walking out, as soon as I get off the ship, he's just like aggressively selling me stuff. And then I just took my Bible out, I put it up, and I just said, "Look, man, I'm not here for fun. I'm here to do work. I'm a missionary." And then he left me alone. And then I said to myself, "Wait a minute. I think this is the key here. These are the magic words." So every time I had these people harassing me, I was just like, "I'm not here for work. I'm sorry. I said, I'm not here for fun. I'm here to do work. I'm a Christian preaching the gospel. Do you want one of my cards?" And then one after the other, they would just leave me alone.
Yeah.
And then sure enough, nobody was bothering me because they knew, hey, this guy's not here for vacation. He's here to try to spread his religious views. So that was great. But I will say this. It can be sad how poor these people are. There was one person, actually multiple people I got saved on the islands, and they were like, after they got saved, they're like, "Hey, do you have any food? Do you have a snack that you could give me? Do you have anything?"
Oh, really?
And so I was thinking it might be kind of cool to sneak off a couple of snacks from the ship, and then after somebody gets saved, without them knowing that I'm going to give them anything, after they already get saved, they have no idea that I have anything with them, then maybe, hey, here you go, here's a little snack if you want it. I just kind of thought that'd be fun.
I don't know. Yeah, it didn't seem that poor, like where we were going.
Sure.
Maybe that's because we were closer to the ship. But we didn't bring it because we had heard everybody talked about you can't bring food off. You're going to get in trouble. There's dogs sniffing your bags. So I didn't even try to bring anything off. Like I didn't want to get in trouble.
It may actually be an issue depending on the cruise line.
I don't think you can.
Some of them are really strict about that, so you might
Yeah.
not actually want to follow my advice there. Regarding so you got 657 salvations. Give me a standout salvation that you think of off the top of your head, and you go, "Wow, that was a real good one," or that one stood out to me. Maybe the person was really receptive, or maybe the person, got a little emotional. Maybe they had an interesting story afterward, or is there something you could think of where it doesn't have to be anything, crazy, but just something that stuck out to you to go, wow, that particular salvation I got was a highlight for me.
I don't know of I don't necessarily have like a particular one. Just what I recognized a few different times. What I in general, this is like what nobody had a problem with, that it's by faith alone. Once
Yeah.
you can never lose. Like what was the weird that I noticed, and it came from a lot of the women, is that the concept that they deserve to go to hell was like, you thought I was like spitting in their face. They couldn't believe that I would I'm like explaining the gospel. They're 100% like, we're literally like at the prayer, like I know I deserve to go to hell. Oh no, sir! How dare! Like, and she like flipped.
Really?
I'm like, what in the world? I was like, and then it's like, did you not? We've been talking about this for like 15 minutes. Like, no objection, no problem. I've explained this concept. Like, I started off explaining it. You had no problem. So like literally, like a couple times I would have ladies that would be like, I know I deserve it. I know, to go to hell, to go to heaven. I'm like, no, it's, you actually deserve to go. And so it really forced me to kind of like change how much time I was spending on that concept of like, you are a sinner. We're all sinners. And if we're not putting our faith on Christ alone, like, we deserve a punishment for that sin. So it really forced me to kind of drill down that aspect of my soul winning presentation more than I would normally, like more than I had to do with guys or just in general. And so what was neat is a couple times, more than a few, is you'd start with a group of like 5 people, 5, 6, or 7. And then it would just kind of like whittle down and whittle down. And at the end, like that one person that was listening the entire time, is the one that's left that gets saved. And so that was really neat. Like, just be like, okay, because you in your mind, you start getting greedy. Maybe I think it's natural. You're like, oh man, you start talking to this group of like 5, and they're all like, yep, interested. They all want to hear it. And you're like, sweet. Like, you're already counting the number in your head. You're like, oh man, I'm going to get all these guys saved. And then just kind of like whittles down, like, they kind of peel out, they look at their phone, oh, I got to go. Like, and you wind up just getting that one person saved. And it's like, hey, like that's who needed to hear it. That's who the Holy Spirit was speaking to. And that's okay. Like, that we don't, like, one is enough, that person gets to hear it.
Yeah,
And,
that happens. I know the feeling. You're thinking like, all right, I got 10, and then it whittles down to like 3.
Just
and
one,
hey, that's great. Praise God. At least you're able to get somebody, right?
But I'll share Pastor Rich's. Like, we had gone to this college in St. Lucia, and like, these kids are kind of hanging around. There's their exam week, and there's a guys in the gazebo. And, like, one person had gone up there and, like, they kind of got rebuffed and, like, no, they weren't really interested. I went up there a little bit later, and they're all just kind of chilling. They're hanging around, like, they're goofing off, whatever. And they're kind of, they're not really into it. And there was almost like the ringleader guy was the kind of, like the one that was not, that was kind of goofing around and not really paying attention. And we had been there for a few hours. And so finally, like we had got the call to go down, to the iShow Speed show, where Miss Anderson was, where they were getting a lot of salvations. So I'm like, come on, let's go. Like, and we're trying to round up everybody. And Pastor Rid, it's this one guy. Everybody else had left, and he's telling this afterwards. But that kind of ringleader guy that wasn't really interested, that was kind of goofing around. Pastor Rich is like, wouldn't give up on him. Like, he was his last, as we're all kind of waiting in the van, that last couple minutes, that I wanted to give him before we took off. yeah, he was able to get that guy saved. Like all of his buddies were like walking away, were kind of laughing at him, but he stuck it out, and Pastor Rich was able to give him the gospel and get him saved at the end of the day. And I was, of all the people that were like the 20 kids that were in that gazebo, I was like, no way, that kid. But sure enough, yeah, like he just was able to get him saved and preach to him, and so that was kind of neat, that one guy finally got it. And but there's just so many, when you have these trips and you're preaching to so many people, it's just so great. I can't encourage everyone enough.
Yeah.
If you haven't gone, or if you're interested, like it's totally worth it. Like if anything that you want to spend your money on and try to do, like it's so worth it. And if you're like a legit soul winner, like if you've been out there grinding, away in America and just kind of like, doing your thing, and you're like, man, I want some wins over here. Like where can I go to get some W's? This is, go on a cruise mission trip.
It's shooting fish in a barrel.
It's so great. It's so much fun. Now, you're going to have a blast. Yeah.
It's a vast majority positive. Vast majority positive. Yeah. Very receptive. But every once in a while, just like you would domestically, there are going to be some people who are for sure just not interested. That's the reality of it. And you might even face a little bit of opposition depending on where you're at, for sure. But when it comes to the ports of call, what would you say was the most receptive island that you visited?
It was St. Lucia and St. Kitts. The island that everybody, that nobody had success with, that everybody felt weird. We cracked the code, and St. Lucia was awesome. I think it was like St. Lucia was like 189 or something like that day, and then I think St. Kitts was like 205 or something, because we had figured out let's just go straight into these schools and like not even wait till the afternoon. Let's just get in there. And so yeah, we had a little bit more success. But yeah, St. Lucia 100%, like they're ready for it. We're going to get into these schools. We're going to make the appointments and have a ton of success.
What was your favorite meal?
They had so I only got to eat like one thing really, like when I go out, everybody gave me I'm like to go and try the weird stuff, the street meat. Like all these schools had like these setups, like shacks that were selling food. And so I remember from Jamaica, the tasty patties, these are like their version of like an empanada, that's like, a pastry with meat in it. And I remember I just, got one from the lady, and everyone's like, couldn't believe it. They're like, you're going to get sick. You're not going to, like, this is going to be bad. I thought it was good, but I was like, okay, I'm not going to eat anymore.
One of these days you're going to get food poisoning.
I know. So it's like, I'm risking it, like middle of this trip, but like, I like that stuff. Like all these kids are eating it. Like if they're, if they're going to get sick, the school's going to come and shut this place down. And they're like, well, maybe their digestive system's different. I'm like, I don't know, but it was good. But no, like they had this like French onion soup that everybody loved. We were all talking about it. We kept getting it. They had these like bao, like those bao buns. That's like, they have, it's like a dim sum kind of, like, what I'm talking about?
Not exactly.
It's like it's BAO bao buns. Basically, imagine like they took like a version of like a taco.
Okay.
And they took this bao, and then they made the bao the taco, and then they had this like sweet, spicy, chili meat in it, and made it a taco. That was great. I was eating that. I was eating Jensen's. But
hey, did you didn't try the escargot on the ship?
No, they had it the first night, and I was like, it's just a bunch of butter and stuff. Like, it's not like, I don't know what this is. Like, I was like, I don't need to be that adventurous. Like, I've had it on a cruise ship before, and you're really, all you can taste is butter and garlic. It's like, what am I really eating here? So no, I was like, I'm okay. I don't need that, but I'm a big seafood guy. I love getting to like any kind of seafood dish, I'm ordering. I like to get even when we went out with Miss Anderson, Amanda, and Jensa, they were ordering stuff and like, she's getting nachos or whatever. I'm getting like the whole deep fried fish that has like, the head and fins attached, and you're picking off the bones. Like that's the kind of stuff I like. I go for that stuff. So I'm definitely adventurous in my eating. If anybody that knows me or hangs out with me, like this is the thing, like I want to make sure people have a good time. Like if you've come and you've visited Faithful Word, or you've spent time with us, or you've gone out on the missions field with us, like I'm trying to make sure everybody, eats good, has a great time, enjoys themselves. So that, like I really try to do that this, cruise ship as well, is like, hey, let's we're going to do some work, but we're going to have some fun too.
Oh, I've been open about saying my favorite conference that I've ever been to was the missions conference in Arizona. And you helped to make that be the case, to be honest with you. I really appreciated your hospitality on that trip. But that was a lot of fun. And so I can tell you, folks, he's not lying when he says that, for sure. He does want people to have a good time. I would say the same thing. When I had my cruise mission trip a few months ago, I tried to emphasize to everybody, just go at your own pace. And like what you said to your people, it's like, we're all adults here. You're going to do what you're going to do. I just want everybody to have a good time. And at the end of the day, the people that I went with, they ended up going hard regardless. And
yeah.
Look, if you want to, more power to you. I think that's fantastic. I just didn't want a culture where we were shaming somebody for not necessarily putting in as many hours.
Of course.
Now, if you're just joining us, we talked a lot about the spiritual aspect of this, and I gave some Bible verses. He gave the number of salvations. Remind me what it was again. I already forgot. 160.
657.
That's right. Wow, I was way up. 657 salvations. So 657 salvations on this trip. He gave us the testimonies, all the great things that happened. I wanted to just offer, as we wind things down here, I wanted to offer a few thoughts that I had just on cruising itself as we begin to land the plane. First of all, when it comes to going with a group, I think it's awesome that you were able to get that connection there from Pastor Chad, Rich, and his, what was it? You said it was his brother-in-law?
Yeah, it's the father-in-law for the future. For the next time we go, we'll be able to get the squared in even more than we did this time.
So then you could do things even better. It's important to make those connections. But when you're actually there with a group, it's important also to communicate. You have to have communication, or else things could go haywire. And on a cruise ship, that could be a little tricky because Wi-Fi is very expensive, to the point that I would even refer to it as a ripoff. It is crazy expensive how the Wi-Fi works. But honestly, I struggle with being disconnected, so I usually end up buying it anyway, even though I feel like it's too much money. But regardless of that, on Royal Caribbean, through their app, you can chat. Yeah. The problem is it's very buggy. I don't know if you had that problem, but with me on the cruise that I went on with Royal, their app was very buggy, and there were many times where I would send a message and the person wouldn't receive it, or it wouldn't go through, or something like that. How did you handle communication?
Yeah, so it is that way, like, because you have to be on their Wi-Fi, and it's kind of, so like maybe some people are getting, some people are not. So it's communication is key, and it's getting it set up early. Like it's having a Zoom call before you get to the island. Before you even go on the cruise, everybody has an idea. Like, hey, get everybody in a group chat. Like a WhatsApp group chat. So like anytime there is, as soon as we do get Wi-Fi, because all the islands have Wi-Fi, or they all have the internet. I think for us, we had to pay like an extra $12, each day, whatever, to get it. But you can have it. But basically, like every night, every day, 9 a.m. is breakfast. Let's all meet at 9 a.m. I'm going to upload the maps. So you'll have them there. Like, if you upload them into WhatsApp, they're going to download. And so you can see them. Like, you don't have to have the internet to get them. And so, each island, as we're going there, as I would get the internet, because you can get it from the ship, like as soon as you pull into port, your phone's gonna catch it. So I'd upload that. But basically, like breakfast at every morning at 9, divvy up the groups. see who wants to go where, get everybody set, everybody heads out, everybody, it knows when dinner is, everybody has their assigned table that they're supposed to go to at the same time every night. And that, every night they would post their tables numbers into the group chat. And then every night at 9 p.m., we'd all meet at the same spot and talk about the next day. Like, hey, this is what we did for the day. Everybody, we hang out for maybe a half hour, just kind of laugh and talk, as a big group. This is what we're doing. This is, hey, tomorrow, same thing, 9 a.m., meet here for breakfast. This is the game plan. This is what we're going to do. And so I'd kind of give those talks, every night, but yeah,
you maintained communication well, and that's important because you don't want any confusion. The table situation you brought up and how it'll be even better the next time. I want to point out too, for little kids, Royal Caribbean, again, I know that I've already put them over a lot on this stream, but Royal Caribbean is the best option. The kids, there's a lot of different activities for kids. On the cruise I went on, they had specific events especially for them. There was even like a kids area, climbing spot, all kinds of ways for them to have a good time and expend some of that energy. Another tip I would say is get your documents ready ahead of time. We had a bit of a scare for us because we didn't get every single thing ready until the day before, thinking we were good to go, and then we thought we might have lost something, but then we ended up finding and everything was fine. But just for peace of mind, get your documents ready way ahead of time, know where they're at, because, there's really no exceptions. You have to have the right documents to get on the ship, which is either a birth certificate or a passport. And the reason why people tell you to always use a passport is because if you end up getting left behind and you miss the ship leaving, then you'll have to fly out, which will be a heck of a lot more difficult without your passport.
Right.
That's why people say that.
Let me interrupt and give a life hack just in general for everyone.
Please
You're an adult. Get a passport. Like, just get it. It's a couple $100 at the most, and it lasts for like 10 years or more. I think it's like 16 years or something like that. But it just because you never, like, what if you're okay, like, what if you're just in church or with something like, and you're doing your thing and your pastor comes up to you and says, hey, we're going on a mission trip, like something fell out, everything's paid for, you're going next week. Like, well, I don't have a passport. Like, just get it. Like, be prepared. You never know when an opportunity is going to drop in your lap. Just get it. It's easy. Take the picture, get the passport. That's just, from me in general as an adult, just, get the passport. You never know what, when an opportunity comes up where, you need it. So.
Yeah. And I would say it's better to cruise with one as well, rather than relying solely on a birth certificate. As far as arrival, be early. And I made this mistake. I made this mistake on one of the cruises I've been on in the past, where we arrived, we messed up what our arrival window was, and we ended up arriving at the very last, like literally the last minute. The end of the arrival window was 2 p.m. I literally pulled in with my van at 1:59. So it was extremely stressful. We were thinking they weren't going to let us on the ship. Thankfully, they did. But what ended up happening is I dropped off my family. We parked the van. I parked the van by myself, grabbed all the bags and that I could, and then I ran back down to meet them. But because we were so late, usually what happens is that the workers take your bags from you and then they put it outside your room. Because I was there at 1:59 and the arrival window ended at 2, we didn't get a chance to do that. So we're lugging all of our bags all the way onto the ship, on the ship itself.
And your kids.
And the kids. And people are looking at us like, what the heck is wrong with these people? We're lugging all this luggage all the way up to our room. It was a cluster muck. I would highly recommend, that's the PG version of a different phrase. I highly recommend that you would arrive early. Another thing I would say is that the shows, in my experience, aren't good. In my experience, this could be different depending on the ship you're on, okay? Every ship has a different offering typically. On the cruise that I was on, I did go to a lot of the shows, and almost everyone had a faggot or some queer or something gross that I didn't want to see, and so I couldn't recommend it. Now, there was one ship that I did where the shows were like Deal or No Deal or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
which I thought was kind of entertaining to watch, but I'm not big on, at least in my experience, the shows that I've been on, because there's always something on there that's like, I didn't want to see that. That was gross.
Yeah, no, that's 100% right. You have to use, your own judge. Yeah, like, yeah, we totally, like, halfway through one, we walked out. I was like, all right, my spirit can't take any more of this. Like, I'm done. And so, we got up and, the group we were with, left. So yeah,
Yeah,
you
because
gotta
like
use your best judgment,
look,
like,
if you're gonna have worldly things, I understand. Okay, it's a show. Like,
yeah.
I'm not sitting in a fundamental Baptist church on the cruise ship. I get that, but like I don't want to see faggots and queers everywhere. So at that
Yeah.
point, it's like, all right, I'm gonna get up.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
gonna leave.
Yeah,
go do something else.
yeah, or scantily clad women, like, yeah, I don't need to see a burlesque. I'm not trying to see a burlesque show on a soul winning
Well,
cruise ship. You know what I mean?
I think
Like, I'm out of here.
On your soul-winning trip, that may
Yeah.
not be the best source of entertainment for you.
No. Yeah, no, there's plenty. There's honestly, there's no, there was some cool, like, there was like a ventriloquist lady that, we had that was really good. We, like, I forced Jensen to take a picture. Like, she had won like the Spain's Got Talent or whatever, and she was like a finalist for America's Got Talent a couple years ago. Cruise ships like to find these kind of like obscure, semi-famous people to, like, bring on their ship and be like, oh, look at this person. So it was kind of funny. Like, we saw her like afterward on the ship, because they're just walking around with you. Like, you'll see, you're like, that's the singer guy that was on that show last night. He's just like eating breakfast with you, and so like I forced Jensen to go and like take her picture with her. So it was kind of funny. I like to embarrass my wife. It's a thing I do. But
I think every guy's like that.
yeah. So no, you don't have to see any of the shows. Like, like, some of them are good. Like, there was a juggler that was doing all kinds of crazy juggling. That was totally normal. That was fun. So yeah, there's so much stuff to do on the cruise ship. It's so massive. There you can do, you can swim, you can climb.
There's plenty to do.
The rock wall. You can, we had like at the end, the very last day, we had like a little date night. We were like, walking the ship, talking. We're, playing putt golf by ourselves. Like, you have a great time. Yeah, you can walk or you can swim. There's tons of stuff to do.
Yeah, there's mini golf. There's an arcade. There's a path that you could walk on the outside of the ship and look at the ocean. There's a wall climbing. There's all kinds of things. I actually did like, there was a water show on the ship I was on, which was really cool.
Oh,
There's
nice.
pools. There's plenty of entertainment and sports that you could play. We played pickleball on the ship that I was on. You could do pickleball. You could do basketball. You could do just practically anything you could think of. Just look at the activity list, and there's something to have fun with on the ship. So, are you always going to leave from Puerto Rico, or do you think you'll be switching it up?
So this is the hack. I think Puerto Rico is the hack, because if you leave from the States, from Florida, from Texas, you're going to spend more than one day at sea. And so for me, I'm trying to get the most bang for my buck. I'm trying to squeeze every single thing I can out of my trip. So for that, I researched every single cruise itinerary that was in the Caribbeans or the Bahamas. And this one cruise that we just went on, that it had the best itinerary that I could find, because everything else is either 2 days at sea or 3 days at sea, or they're going to, like you said, they're going to their private beach, like, so this was, what I realized, and I've confirmed it, with more research, is if you go in and out of San Juan, you're only going to have one day. You can find cruises where you have 1 day at sea. So like next year when we go, it's going to be even better. So this was like a 6-night cruise. What I found for Royal Caribbean for next year is that there's 7-night cruises. So now you're going, instead of going to, because I said 5 islands because I included San Juan, but as far as like ports of call, we only went to 4. Whereas next year, we're going to go to 5. So you're going to have 5 Caribbean islands that you go to, only 1 day at sea. flying out of San Juan, and same thing. Like these cruises are like $600-700. So that's Puerto
the way to
Rico is
go.
the hack. Yeah.
Yeah, if you can avoid sea days as much as possible, that's the way
Yep.
to go, because it'll increase your productivity. Too many sea days, and you'll start to wonder,
Yep.
what am I even doing here, right? So you
Yep.
want to make sure that you're stopping as many times as possible. Sometimes sea days are unavoidable depending on how far you're going. So, for example, if you wanted to do Galveston all the way to the Bahamas or something like that, then it's unavoidable. You're going to have sea days there. But if you can mitigate that, then obviously I think that's a good choice. And it seems like leaving from Puerto Rico accomplishes that. So I appreciate you explaining.
Yep.
And I want to just take a few moments here before we close to share some photos from my trip, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
This was so I took a trip on the Norwegian Viva earlier this year. It was late February, early March, so a few months before yours, and we stopped and it was Cozumel, Costa Maya, Belize, and also Roatan Island. Now, only 2 of the 4 were English speaking, 100%. Cozumel did have some English, even though it's in Mexico. But thankfully, we had Spanish as part of our group, and so the Spanish speaker killed it for sure. This was at Belize. So, like I told you off the air, or no, I think it was on the air. Sorry, I kind of get confused. But when I booked this trip, I didn't realize the Belize stop was actually a private island. And folks, you need to watch out for that when you book your cruises.
Yep.
That you're not stopping at a private island thinking that it's just the regular country, because it's not. They shield you from the country. People just want to be in their private island so that they can drink and do all this useless crap. Well, thankfully, though, with Norwegian, their private island, Harvest Key, did have a ferry that you could take that takes you to the actual country of Belize, the actual nation itself, and in fact, a private island, or not, excuse me, a small village from the private island. You can go take a ferry to a small village called Placencia. And when I was there, I was walking around. It is such a small village that you could do it all on foot. And I'm walking around, and I just literally waltz right onto a school. And I didn't know anything about it. It just so happens to be that they were all on break of some sort. A bunch of kids were out there, and this group right here gets saved in Belize. It was really cool. And then this was the ferry that we took to get to the little village town in Belize. That's Meseva, and there's me. And this was in Cozumel. She's giving the gospel in Espanol right there to the security guard or somebody that I think is just standing there to make sure that people don't steal stuff. This is in the island of Roatan. People don't know a lot about Roatan. Yes, it's technically in Honduras, but there's like 80%, 90% black people that speak English. They also speak Spanish, but they all speak English as well. And there's definitely a large amount of people that only speak Spanish. Don't get me wrong, but I would say, I talked to a local and straight up asked them, how many people speak English here? And she was like, at least 80%. So here is Brother Tim getting somebody saved in Roatan. This was on the gangway. They had these guys that were bringing people from the ship to the actual land, and there's Ava getting that guy saved. This is Miss Nexus from our church getting a couple of people saved, I believe, in the island of Roatan. There's another picture of the same island where she's giving the gospel. So again, Roatan Island, in my experience, if you stop in the Coxon Hole port, all you have to do is walk right outside the port. Just walk right outside the port, up and down the main street, and you could talk to a bunch of people. And more than likely, they're going to speak English, and you'll get them saved. I wanted to play this. I don't know why it's blue. Oh, crap. I don't know why it was blue there. That was
I think it had fixed itself.
Yeah.
There you go.
Behind me is Roatan. We are currently departing, and we're finished with this portion of our cruise mission trip. A successful day for us as a group. We were able to get 28 people saved today. This isn't just a receptive place. I would say it's hungry for the gospel as... All right, it stopped. I ended up giving a short little testimony there. What I said was one of the guys I gave the gospel to, he was like, I've never heard this explained to me before after he got saved. He was like, this was so clear, and he was just shocked at how it all made sense. And I told him, the reason why it all made sense to you had nothing to do with me. It all made sense to you because it's the truth. You know, the gospel is the power of God unto salvation. So I'm going to keep going. This was I don't know why it's not playing, but in Mexico, there were these dudes that were like dancing around. They were doing break dancing or whatever. Mm-hmm. And they had a little bucket where you could tip them. So Maseva just walks right up to him and says, hey, you guys need to hear this. I'm here to preach a very important message about Jesus Christ. And so they all stopped breakdancing, sat down, and listened to her.
That's awesome.
And they all got saved. Here's my wife talking to somebody in Cozumel. The video is probably not going to work, but this was just video of the ferry that we took to Placencia in Belize, and this was the little school that I just waltzed right onto. I definitely would say that making an appointment is way better, but it wasn't really planned. I kind of just walked right on there, and a bunch of kids were there. There were adults there as well. I told them I'm a Baptist, just want to preach the gospel, so they knew who I was, and everything went great. A whole bunch of kids got saved. This was also in Belize as well. This was in Roatan, outside of a shop, where my wife's giving the gospel, and then I just took this footage here of, just back on the cruise, just the great view that you get to enjoy on the cruise. But I just wanted to share my own trip real quickly as well. It was much smaller than yours. We only had how many soul winners? 1, 2, 3. It was only 4 soul winners for our trip. So it was really small. But I will give my results. We had 5 saved on the ship. We had 25 saved in Cozumel. We had 22 saved in Belize. We had 29 saved in Roatan Island. 1 in Costa Maya. Costa Maya was not receptive. It was just a bunch of people trying to sell you stuff. I did not like Costa Maya. We had 82 total salvations for my cruise mission trip. So 82 nice. Total. Logan, you made me look really bad with your 457. But that's okay.
Well, it's actually 657.
Good night. I keep messing it up. 657 saved definitely makes my trip look like nothing. But you know what? At the end of the day, we're all on the same team. I'm glad that others are doing a great work as well. And of course, I'm just being lighthearted with that comment, Logan. But 657. I'm sorry for continually messing it up. I've had a long day. And so my brain, I'm going to be honest with you, my brain's not working the way it should tonight. I'm just being totally honest with you.
Well, you're doing great.
657 salvations, Brother Logan Perolis. Pat on the back for you, man. I'm just, I'm really happy that you stepped out in faith and did this and put together the trip. Like I said, Lord willing, I can join you for one of these in the future. Any last words you want to say as we wind this thing down?
Yeah, this is, I know you probably feel the same way. This is this success is not me. This is, the Holy Spirit working through us, preaching this gospel. It's not that I'm some eloquent speaker and it's really God. It's God speaking through us and giving, taking the power and to get people saved. And it is a credit to the leadership in our lives. I know that you would give that credit to Pastor Shelley as well. It's really, Pastor Anderson, completely changed the trajectory of my life that I was on, and inspired me and encouraged me, through his preaching and through his leadership, good times, bad times. I mean, he went through the hardest trial of his life and had the greatest success in his life. And I saw that. I was like, well, what am I doing? I can do big things. That's I remember talking to him, having a one-on-one with him and saying that I came to this church, to do because I wanted to do a great work with my life. I don't want to just, check a box that I went to church on Sunday, that a lot of Christians unfortunately do. Like, that's just like, that's the extent of it. Maybe they go to a men's group every once a month or on a Saturday or something for breakfast, but it's like, no, man, let's do some work. Let's get out there. Let's like put our, self on the line, and through, great preaching and leadership and encouragement, I've been able to do these, I've been able to get this heavenly reward that I know one day I'll receive. It's that, it's through that preaching and encouragement, that I've been able to do these things. I never would have done them on my own. And so it's really a testament to having a great pastor like Pastor Anderson. And so, yeah, credit goes to those guys, that fight the battles for us, that preach the sermons, that encourage us, to do greater works in our lives, and that give us the ability to do those things, like, the financial backing, the encouragement, and so, yeah. So thank you to Pastor Anderson. Thank you for the faithful word. I look forward to doing it, like I said, God willing, every year moving forward. Like we gave a challenge to the kids that, as you start learning how to soul win, like if you become soul winners, you get to go on the cruise with us. That's kind of the deal that we made with them. Like, as they become talkers, you're going to get to go on the cruise, and we'll pay for you to come. And so I just want to encourage anyone, like, even if you don't necessarily like come on mine, like if you're interested at all, or doing your own thing, or if you have any questions, you can find me on Facebook, Logan Perolis. Send me a message. I'll be happy to give you my phone number. You can, I'm a truck driver, so I can talk all day long if you want to. I have the time. So, feel free to reach out. I'll give you any advice or encouragement that I can if you want to do your own thing, or if you're, any questions at all, please feel free to reach out. But yeah, I just want to encourage everyone, to, keep fighting the faith, and, keep going out soul winning, being involved in church. You have such little amount of time in this world to do a great work for the Lord. So just, seize the moment.
I thought of you earlier today because I literally did not know this. There's like a truck driver simulator game. I didn't even know this existed. And I was thinking, like, bro, this is someone's job. You're going to just pretend on a video game to drive trucks? Anyway, I know that was totally random.
That's a silly game.
It's like Truck Simulator or something. And you just do your job.
That sounds like the most boring game
that's
possible.
It literally is. You're just driving for hours in it. Anyway, in a video game. Folks, I have to echo the sentiment that the leadership in my life, they inspire me to be a soul winner.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously I care about the lost. I have my own motivations, but the reason why I'm even doing this right now is because of the preaching of God's word.
Yep.
And it lit a fire under me. I wanted to do something special with my life. And there's nothing more special you can do than be a soul winner. I don't care if people think I'm repetitive. I don't care if people think that it's a hobby horse of mine. We need to get people saved. We need to reach the lost with the gospel of Christ. And trips like this are a way to do it. There were several different moments on the missions that I've been on so far where I just kind of thought to myself, I'm somebody that's big on just taking things in the moment. And I just sat there and I just think to myself, this is what it feels like, and this is what it means to really live. And here's what I mean by that. A lot of people in this world, the vast majority, I hate to say it, I know it sounds harsh, but it's the truth. They are living a life that is ultimately meaningless.
Yeah.
Okay. And I know it sounds harsh. I'm not trying to be rude or mean or anything, but people go about their day, they go about their life, they work the 9 to 5, they drink, they eat, they sleep, they go on trips. And at the end of the day, if they're not saved, they're going to die and go to hell and have absolutely nothing to show for it. But as a Christian, we could be different in the sense that there are eternal ramifications for the works that we accomplish on this earth. And the magnitude of that is just so astounding. It's hard to even put it into words. but we have a real meaning to our lives, a true purpose as servants of Christ, which is to reach the lost. That's what Jesus Christ told us to do. Go ye into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. The ministry of reconciliation has been given unto us. If you're struggling about what your purpose is, it's to preach the gospel.
Amen.
And so I would encourage you. You've never done a mission trip. You've never gone on a cruise mission trip. Go do one. You have Brother Logan you could reach out to. You could join Steadfast Baptist Church on its upcoming mission trip this September to Barbados. In February, we're going to the Philippines. And even if maybe missions just isn't possible for you right now because of some kind of financial reason, that should not stop you from finding a local Baptist church, getting plugged in, and going soul winning there. Because you know what? There's still a harvest locally for us to work on and to reap from, and to gather from. So I think that we need to put in the effort on a local level as well. But I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story there, Logan. And it's always great to hear other people doing a mighty work for the Lord. And 657, that is not a number to scoff at whatsoever. That is a big work, and it's a win. At the end of the day, it's a win. The stream's called Victory Live. I'm going to put winners on here, all right? But yeah, thanks for making me look really bad. I appreciate it, Logan.
No, it's all right. Just come with us next time, and you'll be good.
You know what? I'm just going to... Can I just bandwagon?
Yeah,
is that
let's
okay?
go, baby.
Can I be a front runner?
Go.
They talk about that in sports, where people switch their allegiance to a different team depending on who's winning. I'm just going to be a bandwagoner, and I don't even care anymore.
Yeah,
Logan,
we'll have a great time.
Thanks for coming on, man. I do appreciate it.
Happy to be here. God bless you, brother.
All right, folks, that's it for the stream. For Logan Perolis, it's Ben Naeem signing off. Tune in this Thursday night. I'm going to be back on with Cameron Hall, and we're going to take it to the Orthodox bros, the Ortho bros, these Orthodox heretics. We are going to take it to them, and we're going to prove that the Bible is eternal, Jesus Christ is the Word of God, the Orthodox Church is nothing more than a cult. It is a wicked, satanic cult, and we're taking it to them this Thursday night, 7 p.m. Central Time. Cameron will return to the stream for that. I really enjoyed this, and hearing Logan's testimony, hearing his stories, the trip that he organized, the experience that he had a chance to be a part of. And if this inspired you, then take action. Go do a mission trip for yourself. That's the reason why I'm even doing this, folks, is to inspire somebody out there to get plugged into a local church and to go be a soul winner. God bless you all. Thanks for watching. And like I always say, we'll talk to you guys again soon.